Israel and Iran remain locked in a deadly exchange of aerial assaults. The conflict is now into its 7th day, and U.S. President Donald Trump is keeping the world guessing about whether the United States will back its ally and get involved. This is some of the aftermath of Iran's latest wave of retaliatory airstrikes. The targets included the main hospital in southern Israel and sites around Tel Aviv. A hospital statement said several parts of the facility were damaged and that the emergency room was treating several injuries from the strike. Iran says it was responding to an Israeli strike on its Arak heavy water nuclear reactor. Israel's defense minister says he has ordered the army to, quote, intensify strikes on Iran after that hospital attack, and says Iran's supreme leader will be, quote, held accountable. Now, U.S. President Donald Trump says he hasn't decided if he will order U.S. warplanes to strike at Iran's nuclear sites. Trump adds he might not until the last possible moment.
I have ideas as to what to do, but I haven't made a final. I like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due, because things change. I mean, especially with war, things change with war. It can go from one extreme to the other. War is very bad. We'll see what happens. I've been asked about it by everybody, but I haven't made a decision.
So Trump is considering whether to use B-2 stealth bombers to target one of Iran's most important and secretive nuclear facilities. That's the heavily fortified site at Fordow. The nuclear facility is buried deep underground and protected by mountains. The B-2s are the only warplanes that can drop the bunker-busting bombs that are needed to damage or even destroy the site. We're going to begin our coverage live out of Jerusalem this morning with Chris Brown, who is part of the CBC News team covering the conflict. Chris, good morning. And if you would, let's start with the key developments overnight and what has happened into this morning.
Thanks, Heather. Well, for the last couple of days, the strikes from Iran on Israel seem to be diminishing. But not this morning. A much bigger barrage here in Jerusalem. You could see the missile trails flying in towards the Tel Aviv area, hitting in a residential neighborhood. But the worst damage did appear to be to the south in Beersheba, almost impacting directly on the Soroka Hospital. Lots of wounded there. The footage showing severely damaged interiors, windows blown up, lots of twisted concrete and rebar. The hospital administrators are being quoted as saying they really don't know if the building is going to be salvageable. It was the largest hospital in southern Israel. Iran says it was actually targeting a military intelligence facility, which it says was right next door. Israel has denied that and called the attack a war crime. Now, this kind of argument is going to sound very familiar. For the last 18 months, Israel has been firing immense amounts of weapons and ordnance at hospitals in Gaza, all but shutting down the healthcare system of that territory, claiming that Hamas was either operating in hospitals or right nearby. Only in those cases, Israeli commanders and politicians said their attacks were totally justified. Heather.
Chris, so where do things stand in Iran and the information that we're getting out of that country? Any more insights into America's plans for possibly joining Israel in this war?
Well, there was an inactive reactor in the city of Arak, which Israel hit. It once produced heavy water, which could be used for a variety of purposes in the whole enrichment process. It was decommissioned after the last nuclear deal in 2015, but Iran had said it intended to reopen it, and Israel said its aim was to ensure that that didn't happen. In the aftermath, Iranian politicians have turned some of their anger onto the UN and its nuclear monitor. They've accused the IAEA of being in cahoots with Israel. Officially, the IAEA's position is that there is no evidence that Iran either was or is working towards developing a nuclear weapon. However, the group did declare that Iran was not as transparent as it should be and was in breach of its international obligations. That's why Iran is saying that the IAEA is actually giving cover to Israel and is complicit in these attacks. Lots of reports, as you mentioned, in U.S. media that Donald Trump has made a decision to join in Israel's attacks on Iran, but for the moment is holding off to see how Iran responds. But it's unclear really what Trump is expecting Iran to do or say, or if there is some kind of venue for negotiations to happen, or even what moment Trump might be waiting for. Israel has formally asked the U.S. to intervene to use its immense arsenal to deal a crushing blow to these deep underground nuclear sites, but the implications for American attacks could be immense for the global economy, for the Middle East, in fact, for all Americans. Heather.
Thank you so much, Chris Brown, out of Jerusalem and leading our reporting today.